Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Generation Latino podcast. I'm Paul, and you're listening to season 3, episode 5. First of all, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you haven't, please follow me on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. You can also catch me on Instagram and TikTok at Generation Latino Podcast. Today, we're switching things up. Usually, as you all know, I'm the one asking the questions, guiding the conversations, and spotlighting powerful stories, but not this time. In this special bonus episode, the tables turn and the mic flips as I step into the guest chair. And who better to take over than someone you already know, a past guest whose voice, insight, and presence made a lasting impact when she joined us. Today, Rashawn Webb is back, but this time she is in the host chair. She's asking the questions, and I'm getting real about my journey, my story, and the purpose behind Generation Latino. But I hope you enjoy it. If you do, please share it, please like it, give it a rating on any of those streaming platforms. I really hope you enjoy this episode. Plot twist, I'm the guest.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to Mic'd Up with Mama Sean, the podcast where we talk about leadership, healing, purpose, and the stories that shape who we become. Today is a very special episode, very, very special and near and dear to my heart. It is our first guest of the new year, and I am so in love with this person so, so much. And we are very good friends and we share a lot of things of life and love and things together. But today's episode is special because it's not just about an interview, it's a conversation about voice. And I think this person is very appropriate for this topic and this conversation. So without further ado, I am going to introduce to you my friend who I don't share with anyone, but today you will get to hear his voice, my friend who has a podcast himself, and I'm going to let him talk about that. My friend Paul Ramos. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I am really excited. We did our episode yesterday, so I'm really excited to just sit back and allow Mama Sean to ask me whatever she wants to ask me. So thank you. Truly, I'm really excited. I love the work you do. We all know that, but thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and he's in my chair this time. I've been in his chair 3 times, and we both made a deal with each other that we would, A, support each other's podcast, and B, that we would every season be on each other's podcast. Because we're just that cool. So I believe stories are bridges that connect generations, that heal communities, that remind us that we are not alone. And today I'm sitting with my friend as we talk about understanding life, as we talk about leadership and healing. And he knows a lot about my story, and so I am introducing you guys to him. Paul Ramos is the host of the Generation Latino podcast. On that platform, it centers around culture, identity, and lived experiences. But behind the mic, Paul is also a storyteller, a listener, and a leader who understands the responsibility that comes with being heard. And I'm going to let him, because I always tell our story. So I'm going to let him introduce himself and I'm going to let him take the mic for a sec. So take it away, friend.
Of course. Well, once again, thank you for bringing me on. And I, like you, am a huge fan of storytelling. I think with storytelling, we learn from our past. We get to learn from what our parents did right and what they did wrong. So, the whole goal for the Generation Latino podcast is to bring an array of people on as guests. I had you on, I had professors, I had influencers, pop stars. I have a lot of people on because I think the power of storytelling is it not being a one size fits all. I think it's about having diverse individuals, right? So we can get someone like myself who is Latino, someone like you, we come from different backgrounds, but we can still tell stories and we can still connect. And that's why I came up with the idea. My grandmother is an immigrant. She came here illegally to this country, and it is because of her that I'm able to sit here and create a podcast, have 3 degrees, have a master's, a bachelor's, and associates, and now getting accepted into law school. I think it is so important that we continue to share stories. As I was walking the stage, specifically with my master's, I couldn't help but think about my grandmother, and
Yeah.
I'm walking the stage, she had to cross a border, you know? So I think people forget about that. They approach a certain level of success or prestige and they feel like, oh, that's just the past. But I think we can learn a lot from it. And which is why I think storytelling is important. And which is why I started the podcast and now onto season 3. It is pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a little bit about me and what I got going on right now. And I start law school next semester in the fall. So I'm either gonna be Elle Woods from Legally Blonde or Aaron Brockovich.
I'm gonna say you're gonna be El Brockovich. I love that, and you know what? I am so in love with this person so much, you guys. Like, it is one of those love at first sight friendships that you stay connected to, and you are connected at the hip, bounce ideas off each other, and it's so funny because even though our ideas might look dumb to the outside world, between us, it's like, "Oh my god, you're such a genius," like, encouraging each other. So I'm gonna let him tell our story because I always tell our story.
Oh, absolutely. So before I get started, I met you in a time where I was really just kind of searching for what is next in my life. Like, what is next? I had graduated from undergrad and I was
Yeah.
working in youth development. And, I saw a job posting and I went to the interview and lo and behold, Rashawn is sitting there with the most vibrant energy. So she's basically asking me, like, what do I want to do? And I told her I have a passion for youth development, for working with underserved communities and things like that. And we chatted for about 10 minutes about the job. And
Yes.
then we talked about Glee. We talked about our love for the arts, Disney. And what I found besides all of that was that you really became a mentor to me, and I think you are a natural mentor, and I try to do this as well because people ask me all the time, like, "Oh, like, how are you such a great mentor?" Because I had great mentors. I had people like you. I remember calling you being like, "Hey, is this the right job? Is this the right position for me?" And you really allow the person who comes to you to really just almost like you're telling them, "Hey, you have the answer." You're basically giving them a little push to make the decision. That's what you do very wisely, and you really do. But yeah, we started talking and we became this was, at this point now 7, 8 years ago,
Yes.
and we our biggest passion is our passion for youth development, I have to say. I mean, we love Disney, we love the rom-coms, but
Yep.
we really are advocates for youth.
Yeah.
We really are, and that is one thing that we've always connected with. We are always gonna fight for the child's right. We're always gonna fight for the youth. Like, at the end of the day, it is all about youth, and that's what we really connected on, and that's what we continue to connect on. So now it's so nice to see you doing all these, speaking engagements and your podcast and, you're so relatable to so many people. And I knew when I first met you, I was like, okay, she's special. I wanna hang on to her because you are such a mentor to me, and I don't have many mentors. I have a handful, but to say mentor, I don't use that word lightly. For someone like me who is as ambitious as you, God knows, like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
use that lightly, but you're so supportive, and I see why you own your own childcare and why you're giving speeches all over the country. Like, I get it. Like, when I see you doing this, I'm like, "Of course she is. Of course she's doing this." But yeah, that's how we met, and we just really gravitated to each other's energy, I think more than
Yeah.
anything. It was the
Yeah.
energy. But yeah, that's how we met, and the rest is history.
The rest is history. And let me just say this, and I always look back on this day and, I did not even think that I didn't even think it was going to be the way that it was, but something I will always be grateful for. And, to some people, it might be small, But for me, this was a huge momentous occasion. Around the time that Paul and I, met, I was entering grad school, either entering grad school or about to finish grad school, and, um, I was graduating from Walden University, and at that time, they were sending out links because I graduated in Tampa, Florida, and I didn't know, who to send it to, and so I was just sending it to different people, and I sent it to him
Mhm.
because we were on the high of our newfound friendship. We were all
Mhm.
texting all the time, and I was never the recruiter that was giving out my cell phone number to people. I just did, that's just something that you don't do, but he made it so easy. It was just like, "Oh, no, he's trustworthy."
Mhm.
Lo and behold, when I walk the stage and I get back to my seat, because we weren't allowed to have purses, but I had my phone and what we call First National Bank. Ladies, if you know, you know. And little did I know that he recorded and took a picture of me walking the stage getting my little fake paper that was supposed to be my degree. He took a picture of that for me and sent it to my phone. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like
I
sure
sure did.
just met, and he did that for me. And I'm just like, oh my God. And and those were my mother was in the audience. And so she was in the back, and so she couldn't catch it, and I didn't know. There was just a miracle that I graduated at that time because I was supposed to have graduated months down the line, but because of a typo in their office, they allowed me to graduate sooner, which was the right time.
Mhm.
But so I didn't know about pictures and, all those things, but he caught that moment, and I have been so forever grateful, and I've always told that story, because that's a true friend, because otherwise, it's just one of those, okay, congratulations, whatever. But he caught the moment of me walking the stage, and, that to me, that's a true friend, and that was someone that I was like, you're gonna be in my life, in my closet, in my back pocket for the rest of my life, and we've been hooked up at the hip ever since.
I remember waking up early that morning and I was like, I had a partner at the time and I was like, okay, I gotta wake up. My friend's graduating. I gotta set up the laptop. And I did. And it was just so, and I took the photo and then I sent it. And,
Yep,
but that's just what friendship means to me. I think people toss around the word a lot, but friendship is uplifting. It's
yeah,
motivating. It's not,
mhm.
it shouldn't, no friendship should bring up insecurity
Correct, or be difficult, and
or
our
difficult.
friendship has not been challenging at
No.
all, and again, I did not know he was going to do that, and so it's all the excitement of being in Tampa, and we were going to Universal that day, that night, it was just a lot of excitement, and so for him to do that just added extra flair and flavor to our relationship. So, Paul, before the podcast, before the platform, who were you?
Before the degrees, the accolades, the job titles. I was someone who really enjoyed life. I come from a broken home. My parents divorced at a very young age, and I saw a lot of toxicity around me growing up. So I always needed to create a safe space for myself. So I was always reaching out for movies and TV shows and music. And I always knew that no matter how dark life got, there was always hope. There was always a rainbow at the end of the tunnel. I always carried that optimism wherever I went in life, Rashawn. Like, no matter what, and it's interesting because when people are like, "Oh my god, the world's ending," and this and that, and they're panicking, I'm always like, "Hey, you're gonna get through this," and that's always been my approach to every single thing. I'm not saying that I don't,
Right,
panic myself, but
right.
I try to really just look at the brighter side and know that there is going to be light at the end of every single tunnel.
Yep.
I have to tell that to myself because if I don't, what type of life are you living, right?
Mhm.
And I've always wanted to just live a very positive life. Like, at work, sometimes people are like, oh my God, you're always happy. You're always bubbly. I'm like, well, I don't want to be grumpy. I feel like when you wake up every morning, you have to decide what type of person you want to be.
Yep. Absolutely. God, that is so exhausting. Like, why do you have to be so grumpy? It's like 6 a.m. Why are you just literally woke up? Why are you waking up grumpy?
and mad at the world, you know? And this is why I tell people when they start bringing up, "Oh, trauma and this and that," I'm like, "Look, I grew up with a father who abused my mother." Not to get too deep, but, like, if you can overcome that trauma and still see
Absolutely.
light, you can overcome anything. I genuinely believe that. So when people start bringing up, "Oh, when I was a child, this happened, that happened," I'm like, "Look, I experienced some horrendous things as a child, but that doesn't mean that I have to continue living my life in that darkness."
Absolutely. And that doesn't define you either because it's a storyline to your history, and I think about all the things that, we discussed last night, and that's history. They
Mhm.
can erase Black history and slavery
Mm,
all they
mhm.
want to, but the stories are still there. Just because you erase them and take them down does not mean that they're gone. The patchwork on the quilts, all the different things that life has created, and the support systems that have been created because of life. Historical moments don't go away because you took down a memorial. A lot of people need to understand, like you said, those things happen to a lot of people more than we think. But that doesn't mean that you have to stay in that state of mind because that's how you came into this world, right? I had a broken household as well, but that doesn't mean that I believe my household when I get married is gonna be broken.
Exactly. But yeah, that was me before and always trying to be optimistic and always trying to find some light somewhere, somehow. And that's how I still continue to this day as a man in my 30s. I still continue to find light no matter where it is at.
You have to find it because you can't think someone's gonna bring the light to you. You gotta go
Mhm.
find it or be the light yourself. Hence why, every day is a new day and we shouldn't wake up the same mood we were in the day before. So many people
Yes.
never get past the moment of doubt. Some people never get past the moment of fear. You knowing what you know about your history and your grandmother, how do and this is a loaded question, but with you understanding your grandmother more and then paralleling her life to you walking the stage to what's going on now, how do you as a grandson of an immigrant, how do you handle that? How do you deal with that and still stay a light and still stay positive?
I'll be honest, it can be very discouraging, especially what's going on now, right? We talk about
Yep.
vilifying, erasing history, pretending that things didn't happen. And for me, I think what helps me is being the best version, being the best Latino that I can possibly be, right? Like, and that was part of the reason why I applied for law school because it is something that I can do not only for myself, but continue to just put badges on myself. And you know what? No, you're not gonna you're not gonna define who I am as a Latino or my community or my people, you know? And this is why the movie Coco resonates so much with me at the end of the song when he sings Proud Corazon. I mean, and he's like, "Ay mi familia, todo mi gente," like, what he's basically doing is saying, like, I'm here and I'm proud, you know? So, I take her with me, and I always tell people, like, I love dreaming, but to dream is even to be of privilege. Like, you have to be privileged to even dream. So I'm not, talking down on dreams, but there's some people out there that don't even have the opportunity to dream. And that was my grandmother. So I don't take anything lightly when it comes to the work that I do, the communities that I represent, the youth that I advocate for. I don't take it lightly, and I always think of my grandmother every time I think that life is hard for me. I
Yeah.
always think about her because I could not imagine she had my aunt with her when she crossed over illegally. I could not have imagined having to do that, come to a country, not speak a word of the language. My grandmother never spoke English, so I couldn't imagine that. So anytime I wanna have a little pity party for myself and talk about how life can be hard, I really have to snap myself out of it because I'm like, "Paul, wake up." I'm better at it now as I'm getting older, but
Yeah.
it's hard to see what's happening and these families being broken apart, but what helps me is knowing that I am gonna continue to fight,
Yeah.
educate myself. There's a reason why I'm going into law.
Yeah.
There's a reason why, because I feel like, and I know not everyone can be a voice. I get that. Not everyone has that tenacity, that willpower, that fight in them. But if God gave me this fight, I'm not
Yeah.
going to take it lightly. I'm going to
Absolutely.
continue to fight and be a voice. So it's hard. And people send me video clips of what's happening. And I'm just like, okay, I take it in and I keep
Right.
moving. And I have to
Yeah.
stay in spaces that help me stay motivated, because if I don't, you can get to a very dark place. And one thing I don't want to do is get to a place where I'm just kind of giving up on everything. So that's how I stay positive.
Yeah, and it's so challenging for minorities. Let's be honest, the black culture, we were forced here against our will,
Mm.
while others came here because they wanted something better. Either way, there was a hardship adjusting to a world that you didn't create and trying to fit into this world. And like you said, all the accomplishments, those are nuggets and tokens that we've earned and we carry with us, and our ancestors would be extremely proud because we were
Mm.
able to persevere and make a name for ourselves, whereas they couldn't without being scrutinized and abused and misused. So, I applaud us both for being the product of a broken home, as well as we have some letters behind our name.
I'll share a real quick story. I graduated with my master's in the fall of 2024, and that was also the election. And I remember there was a point where I wasn't gonna walk the stage. I was like, forget this. Like, I was so discouraged, Rashawn, by just everything that was happening in real time, because I was so proud of my masters and completing, but then I was so disappointed what was happening in the world. And I was so close to being like, I can't do this. Like, why? But I was able to reflect and think about my grandmother and her sacrifices and not let my emotions of an election take over what I did, So I ended up going to my graduation. I did the ring ceremony. I did the church service before because I went to a Catholic private school. But I remember telling myself when I woke up that morning, take in every single moment. And I felt like that day was a 58-hour day because I really took everything in. And I know people always tell us, like, take everything in and take it in. I really took it in. And I remember at the end, there was this huge confetti celebration. And I just looked up. It felt like every second was going slowly, but I just kept thinking, wow, grandma, this is for us. This is
Yeah.
for us. And people even tell me, yeah, I saw you looking up. I was like, yeah, I was just embracing my grandmother's spirit.
I graduated from a Catholic university as well, and my experience was different, but it was still memorable. It's just one of those things that we take in and we hold dear to our hearts because, again, at one point that was not allowed. And so I'm thankful. And, that's an opportunity. And my family was so supportive. And now I'm just kind of like, I want to get my PhD. I want to get my
Mm.
PhD because I love learning about this industry and where it can take me. So, the Generation Latino podcast isn't just content, it's community. Why is it important for you to create a space centered on Latino voices and experiences?
It creates awareness, right? And I
Yes.
think it allows people to identify with other people who are like them. And honestly, Rashawn, when I was doing research for my podcast years ago, there was not really much out there. There just wasn't for Latinos. There wasn't much for the specific group that I wanted to talk to. And it was alarming to me because I wanted to do a lot of research, but there wasn't much research to go off of. I wanted to talk to the first, second, third generation of Latinos, men and women, and there wasn't really anything out there, which was nice for me, but at the same time, I didn't have anything to really go off of but what I experienced, which was an immigrant grandmother, parents with a high school education, school, generational trauma, divorce, and all of those mental health awareness, right? Because in the Latino community I speak for, specifically, they don't there's no mental health. You just get over it. You get up, you
Right.
get a grip, and you move on, and I'm like, "No, wait a minute, we gotta talk about our feelings because we're gonna continue these cycles of toxicity." So creating voices and storytelling, that was the whole premise of the podcast. That's what it's about, and for me, it's about awareness, and I mean, I again, I have guests who we talk about mental health, physical fitness, we talk about education, college, every single aspect that a Latino might be going through, I talk about, and I have fun, I have some fun topics as well. I talk about movies, entertainment, but I just wanted to create a space for people to feel like they belonged, and I think that is so important. I think it is extremely important for that.
Representation isn't a trend, it's survival. When people hear themselves in a story, something inside them wakes up. Your audience is so relevant, and your niche and your market is a hot topic right now. And we live in San Antonio, and I call that Little Mexico. But your message for your generation, your message for your culture is something that is amazing. I love what you do, and I love, that you stand because there's so much going on right now, and they need a voice to say, "Hey, we're okay, all is well, but let's dive into who we are." People need to know who we are, not just inside our community, but the world. Your average Caucasian male with blonde hair and blue eyes needs to understand.
Mm.
Let's just put it there. They need to know what that is versus what social media, CNN tell them. No, they need to know what it means to be that way. Just like they need to know what it means to truly be an African American. We have a story. And you, my friend, your culture, you have a story. And I applaud you for continually sharing your story the way that you do. How do you balance honoring your roots without feeling like you have to carry everything?
It's like the more success you get, the more people feel that you're getting away from your community, so it's like, now he wants to go to law school, he didn't have enough with the masters, and now so it it's funny because I tell people I do these things because I wanna do them. I do them not to feel like I'm better than anyone, but I wanna do them for myself. I wish more people had, Rashawn, that type of confidence in themselves, because that's what I see in my community. I see people feeling not worthy, they don't wanna take up space, they're okay with the
Yeah,
status quo, and I'm like, "No, knock the damn door down."
absolutely.
Like, I'm so tired of just being happy to have a seat at the table. No, I wanna have a seat and I wanna be able to talk. Just having a seat at the table isn't enough anymore. I wanna have a seat at the table and I wanna order my damn meal. Like, people are like, "Oh, you got a seat at the table." That's not good enough anymore.
Or
We don't live in 1990, 1980, 1970. We
no.
live in 2026. A seat at the table is not good enough.
Yeah.
Before, we were just so happy to have a seat at the table. No,
Yes.
I'm not happy with just having a seat at the table.
I wanna be where the movers and shakers are. Well, glory be to God, I'm in the room where it happens, but now I want a seat at the table. Well,
Mhm.
now I'm at the table and I'm in the room to make decisions. I'm in the room where my voice as an educated Black female matters in a community that does not look like me or you. So you're right. I'm ready to order tomahawk steak. I can't even eat a whole tomahawk steak, but I want my tomahawk steak. I want my Brussels sprouts. Can't stand them. But I want my sweet tea and all that. I want all
Yes.
the things that, and I'm the kind of person, and that's why I went to UIW. I went to a current
Mm.
word because number one, I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me at this Catholic university that was predominantly Caucasian. So I went because I wanted number 1, and I love their ECE program, so I was going for a twofold situation. I
Yeah.
wanted to learn my craft, and B, I wanted to be a Black woman who graduated from an all-white university in an Hispanic town.
Yeah.
Now isn't that diverse? And I did, and I'm not Catholic. You said a mouthful, my friend. Oh my god. Like, you said a mouthful right there. This is the kind of talk we talk. But yeah, I don't wanna just be in the room anymore. I was able to go to legislation, and it was just amazing just to be able to be there and make those decisions happen. So I love that. I love that you're so real and you are allowed to tell your story without explaining yourself to anyone.
Yeah, no, I think it's so important. I think oftentimes they're like, "Well, she's in the room, she should be fine." No, she should have artistic value. She should be able to represent what she wants. again, being in the room is not enough anymore, and I think people used to tell us that just to, like, almost silence us, right? "Well, he's in, she's in, right? Isn't she happy?" No, that's not enough, but that's so for me to answer your question, I balance out everything by reminding myself and being grounded. I always ground myself, and I always remember where I come from. I get so upset, Rashawn, when people forget their roots and they forget, and this happens in both of our community. I'm gonna be honest. It happens with both of ours. "Oh, I'm moved on," and I'm like, "Mm." And it saddens me because you can be educated, have money, and still be rooted in what helped you get there and what
Absolutely.
roots helped you get there. Am I saying that I wanna live the same life as my grandmother? No, she struggled. She didn't know how to read or write. I remember them having to teach when my grandfather died, they had to teach her how to sign her name, her signature that we take for granted every single time we do something. So I never forget about those moments. I just never forget about those moments. And it saddens me that when people in my community just kind of forget where they come from and look down on people, and it saddens me, but I will continue being an advocate. I will continue being my authentic self. So yeah, I'm not happy with just being in the room. I'm not happy with just being at the table. I want to order everything on the menu.
I want more as well. My reasoning for wanting more, and I want to know your reasons. My reason for wanting more is because something I shouldn't because of the color of my skin that I cannot change. What's your reason for wanting more?
My reason for wanting more is because I want opportunity. I want other people to feel that they are worthy of. That's why I want more. I want more because everyone is worthy of that. Like, we're so quick to tell people what they're worth and what their price tag is, and I tell people, if you allow someone to put a price tag on you, they will, so don't let them do it.
Don't let them do it. We talked about that last night. Don't let them do it. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that so much. You've interviewed so many people. What has listening taught you about leadership?
That everyone's stories matter.
Yeah.
That's what it's taught me. It's taught me that everyone has their journey, and you have to be respectful and mindful how everyone else got to where they got to, and no greater story is less than or better than. We're all just trying to navigate and find happiness. Like you said, I've interviewed doctors, I've interviewed influencers, celebrities, entrepreneurs like yourself, and at the end of the day, everyone's just trying to figure it out. That's what it really comes down to, and just live a good life for the most part, and that's what I've learned through just people's telling their stories and how much they really matter, and I think it's important for people to hear other stories so they can be inspired. I mean, whether it's being inspired from as a business owner or someone who has gone through a breakup. I mean, I think stories are meant to be told so that we can learn.
Has there ever been a moment on your podcast where someone's story changed you?
Wow. Wow, you're gonna make me think. I was chatting with David Archuleta, and we were talking about, like, when we came out, right? And he was talking about how he came out, like, later in life. Like, he was, like, in his early 30s when he's in his mid-30s now, but he was in his early 30s, and I told him and I so I told him, like, yeah, I was very young, I was 14, and we just kinda connected on that point because he was like, "Wow, like, I couldn't even imagine what it would be like to be able to be your authentic self at such a young age," and then for him being in his 30s, wow, I couldn't imagine not being myself. Not that he wasn't, but that's a huge part of your identity, right? So, yeah, that really caught me off guard. It made me really think like, "Paul, you are very blessed to be able to have been able to be your authentic self," because now he's able to be his authentic self and thrive and do he was on The Masked Singer and all of this and just really be his authentic self, but that's something that really stuck with me because it made me realize it doesn't matter what you have in life, like, your authenticity is the answer to everything. There's not a price tag to that. There's no amount of people that could vote for you. There's not an amount of record companies or magazines you can be on. Your authenticity is your key to whatever door that you want to open, and I will stand by that.
I love that. You're so right. People want authenticity. People want transparency, and there's enough fluff and there's enough of all those things to last us a lifetime. So that's magical what you said. When stories start healing the storyteller and the listener, that's one of the things that I love about us is that we both have stories that we share, and we both have the power to voice our story so that way our listeners can learn more about us and be relatable and find someone that they can relate to. All
Yes.
right. So we have a lightning round. So we're going to do a quick mic'd up Q&A. Just say the first thing that comes to your mind. If you need some time, you have 10 seconds. One word that describes your journey so far.
Lucky.
A lesson that you had to learn the hard way.
Love.
Something you wish younger you knew.
Worthiness.
Mm. One thing you're proud of right now.
My work ethic.
One thing you wish you can change about yourself.
My patience.
One thing that you would tell your younger self.
You got this.
What is one thing you would tell your older self?
You're going to be fine.
We don't ever take the time to talk to our older self. We're always too busy going backward. So, advice for the quiet storytellers here's for the person listening who feels like their story isn't big enough to tell, right? You think
Mhm.
your story is going to be overshadowed by influencers and big people and all the followers and all the things. What would you say to them? What would you say to someone who feels like it's not big enough to be captured by anybody? It's not important enough or it's not as dramatic enough. What would you tell them?
Well, first off, I would tell them that it does matter. And I think imposter syndrome is something that our community really has a hard time with. It's like thinking that you shouldn't do good on a paper for school because only one person's going to read it, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like telling yourself, I shouldn't go to the gym because no one's going to see my body. I don't think it works that way. I mean, you do everything for yourself. Like, I'm not going to the gym. I'm not going to therapy. I am not going to get a law degree or whatever degree I'm getting in. I'm not doing it so that I can have people praise me. I am doing it for myself. And I think when you're telling stories, it's great if people can connect. It's
Yep.
awesome. It's phenomenal that people write and say things about guests and whatnot. But at the end of the day, the storytelling is for yourself. It helps heal you. You know, for me, when I tell my stories about my grandmother or my childhood or the abuse that I endured growing up, it's to heal me,
Mhm.
and I'm just very blessed that it's able to help other people. So your voice does matter, and I think that we grew up in minority groups like yours and ours where we were so trained to think that we had to stay in a box and nobody cared about what we thought about abuse, about women being treated like crap and equal pay and all of that. And it does matter. Your voice does matter. And if it doesn't matter for anyone, it should matter for yourself. So it doesn't matter if there's one person listening or 1,000 or 1,000,000 or 10. It's not for anyone else but you. And it's just extra bonus if other people can connect to you. Like for me, it's very therapeutic for me to go on the mic and talk. I'm doing it because I want to connect, but there's episodes that do better than others, right? There's a ranking system and it's not personal. Some people just relate to certain things and some don't. I would not be 3 seasons in if I worried about what other people thought about my storytelling and my story and my journey. I just wouldn't. I would be like, "Oh my god, I can't do this." I'm like, "No, you are gonna do that and you're gonna complete this. You put your you gave yourself a goal, you gave yourself a time frame to do something, do it, and I did it for me, and I'm so proud that I continued with it because it's not easy. It's I work full time, I'm a student, like, I mean, there's so many things, but I think if it's worth it to you, it's worth it for everyone else, in my opinion.
I love that. I love that so much. You are first of all, you are doing amazing on the other side.
I appreciate that, friend.
You are doing so great. And I think too, your story doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. It just has to be honest. Like we just talked about, people want authenticity. They want honest. And, your story, my story, I don't need your judgment if it's cute or pretty or if
Yeah.
it's ugly or bad. It is what it is. So here is our mic'd up moment with our closing reflection. Here's today's mic'd up moment. Your voice isn't just for you. It's the reason, and it's for the people, rather, who's waiting to hear that they're not alone. Stories build bridges, stories create belonging. And when we share them, we make room for others to rise. And that's the key. We have to share them. Paul, thank you for your voice. Thank you for your work and your willingness to tell the truth out loud. And a lot of people are afraid to tell their truth because of judgment and a fear. And in our final closing question, how do you bypass the sneers and the comments of your truth?
Wow, it's funny you say that. As of lately, I've been very vocal on social media about my thoughts on my community, how we're being villainized and being treated and talked about. And the amount of hate or dark energy that is towards that it's very funny to me, like it's alarming, it's funny, it's comical, if you will. But I try to always, like I started with this interview, stay in the light, but no one's opinions, thoughts about me are ever going to affect my decision making. I'm going to continue to be a voice. I'm going to continue to speak as loud as I can because our ancestors didn't struggle
Yeah.
for us to be here and for us to be segregated second class citizens. I continue to just stay in the light. I continue to tell the stories and be my authentic self. And I'm sorry if people can't deal with it. That's on them. That is a them problem, not a me problem. But I always hope that through darkness, people can find light. I think kindness is very, very important. So that's me. That's how I feel about that. But Rashawn, this was fun. I enjoyed every single moment of this. You are a great interviewer.
Thank you, friend, for being with me. We have been trying to get this episode or an episode of this caliber for quite a while, and it just never aligned. And so, thank God for a snow day. But to everyone that's listening, I appreciate you for listening. We want to be your voice and just your listening platform. And so, Paul, I want them to be able to locate you in every space and place that is allowed and available. So, if they wanna reach you and this episode spoke to them, which I'm hoping it did, tell them everything that they need to know and how to get a hold of you.
Yes, so I am on all streaming platforms. I'm on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and I am on iHeartRadio. So basically, wherever you get your music streaming, I am there under Generation Latino Podcasts. I have a recently TikTok and Instagram, and everything is under Generation Latino Podcast. So please subscribe, listen. As Rashawn says, there is an episode for everyone. I've interviewed so many different people on there. You're gonna be surprised. Some of them you're like, huh? What? But it's fun and I love it. But yes, catch me on there and you can email me at Generation Latino Podcast at gmail.com. And you just want to ask me a question, a topic, suggestion, please let me know. I am open to any feedback. Nothing is ever personal to me. But yes.
And that is so true. Everything he is telling you is 100% true. We always give each other amazing feedback all the time, and it just works for our relationship. Well, it is about that time, you guys, where we have to bring our episode to a close. We have given you a lot of nuggets. We've given you love. My friend, who I do not share with anyone, has graced my platform with you guys today. And so I'm so thankful. So reach out to him. Let him know if this episode meant anything to you. Let him know, the nugget that you're going to carry. I know the one I'm going to carry with me that I'm probably am going to use for 2026 because we as minorities, we no longer need to just be in the room. We need to be at the table. We need to be ordering all the things. We need to have a voice, have a stake in, literally have a stake and have a stake in whatever room that we are in. That is the room that we have been given and granted authority to walk in. And so if this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who needs encouragement today. Share it with someone who is struggling with even just being in their skin, right? Being in their skin today has been really challenging for the Black community as well as the Latino community. Right now, it's just hard to be anything that was not a silver spoon. It's just hard being who we are right now. And so we want to hear from you. This episode went in so many different ways that it was supposed to go. I always believe that even though you have an episode, scheduled and written out, however it is supposed to go, that is how it is supposed to go. I am not going to change it. So we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you and let him know that his episode spoke to you. Show him some love. Let it be known that he spoke to your soul today. All right. So don't forget to follow Mike's Up with Mama Sean for more conversation that heals, challenge, and inspire. And lastly, on a last note, Paul, take us out with some words of wisdom.
All right. So, for those of you out there, if you feel like you're not worthy, please remember that you are worthy of everything in life. Life is too short to not put yourself first. So, put yourself first, put God first, put you first, and you can achieve anything.
I love that you heard it here first. You can achieve everything and anything if you put yourself first. All right. Stay safe and be good out there. Until next time, Mama Sean out.